from ABC7.
And good evening on this election night. I'm Dan Ashley.
And I'm Amma Dates. Polls across the Bay Area closed at 8 p.m. and we are bringing you the first results in this special streaming newscast on ABC7news.com and our free app.
Glad you're with us. Several counties are voting on city council seats or propositions. In San Francisco, they're voting for some major offices, including mayor and district attorney.
And we have a ticker of results running on the bottom of your screen. We will continue to update it as we get more results.
All right, let's take a look now at some of the results for some of the key races that we're following for you tonight. We'll start with the San Francisco mayor's race. As you can see here, Mayor London Breed, the incumbent, has 60% of the vote. Still very early, just few precincts reporting over Zhao and Vestreska, 6% of the vote. And again, London Breed has the incumbency advantage here and is expected to win handily tonight.
Yes, and we have our reporters standing by for us tonight. Let's get to ABC7 News reporter Liz Kreutz, who is covering the mayor's race live in San Francisco. Liz.
Hi, Amma and Dan. Yeah, this is definitely a celebratory feeling here at the Swedish American Hall for Mayor London Breed. Her campaign very confident in this race tonight. We do expect her to come out and speak shortly in the next 10 to 15 minutes, so we'll bring that to you live. But take a look. You can see people gathering here, having drinks. Not a super large crowd, but definitely, like I said, a confident one. No surprise, Mayor Breed has been the front runner through this race and has a hearty lead at this point, according to those latest results. She has 5 challengers trying to unseat her, but none are from a traditional political background, which really seems to benefit Breed. She has a lot of political power and endorsement from Governor Newsom and Senator Kamala Harris. And if you know anything about politics and San Francisco politics especially, it's that it's hard to beat an incumbent. Still, she doesn't have widespread support. A recent poll shows just a third of voters approve of the job she's doing. Another third say that they're ambivalent. I spoke to one voter earlier tonight who said he left the mayor box blank on his ballot. He doesn't feel she's progressive enough.
I'm not super thrilled with the way the DA appointment happened. I think that should have been left. I've also haven't been happy with the way that she's just been tough on crime the same way other people in the past have been. The raids have continued for the homelessness and stuff like that.
Now, Breed has listed dealing with homelessness as the #1 issue she's going to deal with as mayor. She wants to increase the number of shelter beds from 25 to 1,000 by 2020. If Breed does win this race, it will be her first full 4-year term as mayor. So far, she has just been filling in the rest of the term from the late Mayor Ed Lee. Again, we are here at her celebration election night party at the American Swedish Hall. We expect her to come out here and speak shortly. They're feeling good. That's all I can say. Back to you guys.
So much.
All right, let's take a look at the results for the San Francisco District Attorney's race. Former DA George Gascon announced he wasn't seeking re-election, then resigned in October. He's running for office now in Los Angeles. Mayor London Breed then appointed Susie Loftus as interim DA, which you heard that voter in Liz's report say he was concerned about how that process was handled.
And then Loftus is now running against 3 other candidates, Chesa Boudin, Leif Douch, and Nancy Tung. And some of Loftus's appointment as interim DA, some say that it gave her an unfair advantage. Right now, you can see that she has 28% approximately of the vote right now, with just 1% of the precincts reporting because it is still early. Polls just closed at 8 o'clock. 23%, very close between Boudin and Tung, and then Douch at 16%.
And it'll be interesting. This race will be very interesting to watch as we progress tonight. Will that brief incumbency advantage that Loftus has make a difference? Let's go to ABC7 News reporter Kate Larson covering the district attorney's race live in San Francisco tonight. Kate?
Well, Dan, Amma, you're right. This is definitely the race to watch tonight, as it's been surrounded by controversy and, of course, 4 very interesting candidates, too. Susie Loftus and Chesa Boudin, who have been polling very close together, neck and neck in the latest polls. Now, right now, we are at Chesa Boudin's election party at Soma Street Food Park. You can see the room is crowded with all of his supporters, and we are waiting for him to show up really any second now. I did speak to Chesa by phone today, and he says that he's hopeful, he's excited, but he also recognizes that because of the ranked choice voting system, it's unlikely that we'll have a clear winner in the race for top prosecutor by the end of the night. Now, Mayor London Breed named Loftus, as you just mentioned, as interim district attorney after George Gascon quit last month so he could run for the DA job in Los Angeles. With a background in law enforcement, Loftus has promised to crack down on crime that affects quality of life. But Mayor Breed's appointment, so close to an election, Loftus was sworn in just 17 days ago, has proved controversial. Some see the endorsement as a good thing, while others feel, well, she was trying to tip the scales in favor of her candidate. Now, today, Loftus voted with her family in the Sunset District and spoke about her values.
What's coming up the most is people are looking for someone who cares about San Francisco, is going to address the things impacting how it feels to live here. Car break-ins tripled in the last 8 years. Property crime, we're at the top of the FBI's list of property crime per capita. So San Franciscans are looking for someone who cares about them and is committed to enforcing our laws and doing it in a way that's fair.
All right, so Chesa Boudin, he is a San Francisco public defender, which is interesting in and of itself because he's been on the opposite end of prosecutors. He's also a favorite among reform-minded progressives. Now, this week, Boudin received a very high-profile endorsement from Senator Bernie Sanders. Boudin grew up with both of his parents in prisons after they drove a getaway car in a heist back in the 1970s that left 3 people dead. So, unlike traditional DA candidates who frequently pledge to be tough on crime, Boudin actually wants to undo what he sees as damage to the system caused by over-policing and mass incarceration. Boudin, for example, wants to stop prosecuting many low-level crimes like petty drug possession, while at the same time getting tougher about prosecuting police officers in questionable use of force cases. Now, as you guys just mentioned, Leif Douch is also in the race. He's a deputy attorney general for the state. And Nancy Tung, who's polling now tonight so far with the early returns neck and neck with Chesa, is a prosecutor in Alameda County. Now, besides all these interesting tidbits about the candidates, it's also an interesting race because Gascon left. He's not running for re-election, so that means that for the first time in more than a century, San Francisco has a DA race without an incumbent. On top of that, there's been a lot of turmoil in the district's attorney's office in San Francisco just since January. So in the past, 11 months, 48 of their 140 lawyers, more than a third of their attorneys, have left. So with this election really brings the hope of some stability in the DA's office here in San Francisco. After this, we are going to head over to Susie Loftus's party, which is in the Castro. And of course, we will bring you all of the latest results at 11 o'clock on ABC7. For now, I'm Kate Larson in Soma, ABC7 News. Dan Alma, back to you.
Interesting facts. Kate, thank you.
Really, they are. San Francisco also has several uncontested races that will shape law and order in the city going forward. Dennis Herrera is running for a 6th term as San Francisco city attorney.
Manoa Raju is running for public defender. He was appointed by Mayor Breed after public defender Jeff Adachi died.
Paul Miyamoto is running for sheriff. He's currently chief deputy sheriff. Current sheriff Vicki Hennessy is retiring.
San Francisco has one other contested office seat, the District 5 Board of Supervisors seat. And right now you can see Valley Brown is in the lead, 48% of the votes there. It's hard to see the white. There's a 4 there. So 48% of the votes, with Ryan Lamb in 2nd place right now.
And the District 5 supervisor represents neighborhoods including the Haight-Ashbury, Hayes Valley, the Inner Sunset. The incumbent is Valley Brown, as Amma said, who was appointed by Mayor London Breed after she left that seat in order to take over as mayor for Ed Lee.
All right, taking a look at San Francisco's Prop C. Right now you can see no, 76% of the vote, yes, just 21%, but just 1% of precincts reporting at this point. A yes vote on Proposition C would overturn San Francisco's ban, which goes into effect in 2020, on the sale and distribution of some e-cigarette and vaping products. Prop C was originally sponsored by e-cigarette maker Juul, but it announced it was dropping its support at the end of September. If Prop C passes and overturns the vaping ban, it will keep in place some restrictions on the sale of vaping products.
So that's one to watch, not just here around the country, as that issue becomes more prevalent in terms of concerns about vaping. Taking a look at the other measure we're watching very closely tonight, Prop D. As you can see, with, again, just early precincts reporting yes on D has 62% of the vote. A yes for Proposition D approves a tax on ride-share rides such as Uber and Lyft. The tax will be from 1.5% to 3.25% on the net fare of each ride. The tax amount depends on the type of ride.
Revenue will go toward public transportation, pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure improvements. After lengthy negotiations with city leaders, Uber and Lyft agreed not to oppose the tax.
All right, now take a look at San Francisco's Proposition A. Again, early precincts, 63% at this moment say yes on Proposition A. Prop A would allow the city to sell $600 million worth of bonds to build, rehab, and acquire affordable housing, which is, of course, a key issue in this city and the entire Bay Area, and one we focus on every day in our Building a Better Bay Area series. The bill has been backed by Mayor Breed and the Board of Supervisors.
We move on now to San Francisco's Prop B. You can see right now, yes vote 69% to 24%, almost 25%. Prop B would rename several city agencies that provide services for older adults and people with disabilities. The goal is that the new names will provide a clearer sense of what each agency does, so people will be more likely to seek out their services.
All right, now let's look at Prop E. 68% say yes on Prop E. Prop E would allow for 100% affordable housing projects and educator housing projects in public zoning districts. It would also allow for approval of these projects to be expedited, move them along more rapidly with permitting and everything else. Several supervisors support Prop E. Opponents say the city should focus on making private development easier.
Checking results on Prop F. Right now, 72% voting yes, 23% voting no. Prop F would restrict certain types of political campaign contributions. It would also require more disclaimers for advertisements paid for independent political committees, aka super PACs. Several supervisors do support Prop F.
All right, a lot of interesting issues and candidates and races to unpack here tonight. Let's get an insider perspective on the decisions being made by voters in San Francisco tonight.
That's right. Longtime San Francisco Chronicle columnist and now ABC7 News contributor Phil Madeira joins us. Thank you so much for coming in. First, anything jump out at you in the results you've seen so far?
Well, it's going to be a tight night for the district attorney's race, and that's going to have a big impact, not just in San Francisco, but across the country. There's a movement afoot. It's being very heavily backed to change the course of American criminal justice. It's called Reform It, and we've seen it. There was an attempt made in Alameda County last year to try to get rid of Nancy O'Malley because she was seen as being too tough on order issues. That didn't work. And here in San Francisco, if it switches, that's going to be news nationally because everybody's watching us, and you can see other efforts being made in Los Angeles. Another interesting race is London Breed. Think about it. All right. The good news for her is that she had no organized opposition.
Right. Yeah. But we saw a billboard, and that
was it.
That's about it.
It says 7 people you never heard of, 6 people you never heard of before were running. Now, the flip side to that is who's she running against then? Herself. Yeah. Right? This becomes a mandate on her. She can't. And that's what's about politics that I find fascinating. There's always another race, and you're never quite good enough, and you never really quite win.
That's a good point. And this is a unique situation with her,
because she's only been in office for 18 months, or she has been. She was she won the election after the passing of Mayor Ed Lee. She's out there. She's trying to change the course of a battleship, which is what it's like. There's problems with homelessness. There's problems with traffic. There's problems with affordable housing.
Street crime, car break-ins.
People like her, but they're not sure about the job she's doing. Right. So she goes out in front of the voters, and she's running against 6 people that nobody knows. If she continues at 60% or gets better, that'll help her. Because then she can look at that Board of Supervisors in the public and say, people are with me, okay? You might not agree, but the people are with me. And if you say no, I'll take it to the ballot and I can pass it. If she comes in under 55, it's like, well,
that's not a mandate.
You're the only one on the ballot. Yeah. And that means a week, 4 years. And that's not something you want. You don't want that.
Right. Yeah. And we're expecting to hear her speak any moment now.
And she's going to be interesting because she's going to be saying we've got to get better, we've got to push ahead. She's really, really looking to see who gets elected district attorney. That's going to be key for her because she wants to do this sort of middle of the road, a carrot and stick approach for homelessness, drug use and stuff like that. Not lock everybody up, but say at some point, someone on the street who is clearly out of their mind needs a time out. And that might take legal action to get them into mental health if they don't want to do it. And so she's looking for somebody sympathetic in the judicial system to help with that. And if she gets her appointee, Susie Loftus, she'll have that. Or if she gets one of the other two more law and order type people. If she gets Chesa Boudin, we're going to have an ongoing story and a tug-of-war in San Francisco. The one that, again, the nation will be looking at.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about the law and order seats tonight. Uncontested, really, city attorney, public defender, and the sheriff. Sheriff's had some bad publicity the last couple of years. What do you make of these races? Really unopposed. Not, I mean, there's no hard decision to make here, but it's an interesting situation in the city nonetheless. That none of these positions are contested.
No, Dennis Herrera is. Why would you get rid of the city attorney? I mean, Dan, 9 times out of 10, once you're in until you do something really awful.
We're going to interrupt you for just a second, Phil, because London Breed is speaking right now.
Yes, let's listen.
Excited I am to be here tonight. I know that there are some other elected officials here who helped to make this proposition possible. I know Supervisor Raphael Mandelman is here. Supervisor Asha Safai is here. And thank you to our incredible state leader, Senator Scott Wiener, and Assembly Member David Chu. Let me tell you, it does take a village. And I am so grateful to President Yi and his leadership with all members of the Board of Supervisors. When I took office last year, there were a lot of people who were concerned. They were concerned about how I would work with the Board of Supervisors. They were concerned that we had a lot of challenges in this city, and there was a need for us to come together to address those challenges. And guess what? That's exactly what we did. With Proposition A, we came together, and we did it responsibly. We helped build a coalition of amazing people who work in the affordable housing world to craft a consensus measure. And I want to thank those people who helped spearheaded this working group. Malcolm Young, I'm not sure if he's here, Annie Chung, Tamika Moss, and Myrna Melgar. They helped develop not only the largest affordable housing bond in our city's history without raising property taxes, they put forth a path for something that San Francisco has never done before. And under, again, the incredible leadership of President Yi, for the first time ever, $150 million for senior housing. For the first time ever, $150 million for public housing to rehabilitate our public housing. No more excuses. Money for middle-income families, money for teachers and educators. Really looking at how do we ensure that the money that we generate provides support for the people it's intended to support. This is the first time we are doing this, and I am so excited, and I am so grateful, and I am optimistic that the early returns look good. I have hope because we have done this in the past responsibly with the voters. You all went out there and worked your butt off. And I want to say thank you to everybody that held up signs, that walked precincts, that did the work to convince voters of San Francisco how important this is for San Franciscans now and future generations to come. You all understand the importance, and so I humbly thank you for your commitment to Proposition A. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank you for honoring me with 4 more years as your mayor. Every single day that I get up, I'm thinking about what are we going to do to make San Francisco a better place now and for future generations to come. I think about the fact that I grew up in this city in poverty and never thought ever in my life that I would have an opportunity to serve in this capacity, and I don't take it lightly, because there are still young people growing up in this city in poverty. There are still people growing up in this city in the midst of violence and a lot of hopelessness and frustration. We have got to change San Francisco so that we don't continue to let our young people fall through the cracks. We have to change San Francisco. Because we know that providing a safe, affordable place to call home is what's going to change the challenges with poverty, with homelessness, and all of the things that we're dealing with. So we have got to get that housing built now and for the future. So thank you. Thank you for those people who rolled up your sleeves and helped get me elected last year. Thank you to the people who helped in the campaign this year, although you didn't work as hard as you did last time. The fact is, any time you spent helping candidates, helping ballot measures, helping to support the idea that San Francisco belongs to all of us and not just a few, that San Francisco can be a better place, a place of opportunity for anyone if we make sure that we make the right policy investments and financial investments. We know that we can get to a better place. Thank you all so much for coming here tonight.
Mayor London Breed speaking to her supporters tonight at her election headquarters, where it seems to be a foregone conclusion that she will be elected mayor tonight after filling the remaining term of Ed Lee. Fired up tonight about Proposition A in the city.
Which is apparently leading by about 63%. We're going to have those results coming up for you as well.
It's got to get up a little more. Remember,
Yeah.
this needs 2/3.
Right.
Interesting. We just watched that. What did you not see when Mayor London Breed spoke?
Good question. What?
You didn't see a whole cadre of other politicians
Oh, that's a good
behind
point.
her.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Usually in acceptance speeches like that, they bring everybody up.
And there's a backdrop.
And there's a backdrop. She was out there on her own, talking one-on-one. That was London Breed saying, I'm here for 4, and this is what we're going to do. And not with not like a big
supporting cast.
Out
on her own.
Out on her own. The last guy that did that was like Willie Brown.
Right. Yeah.
Gavin Newsom usually had a few people in the background. Willie would go out on her own. She went out on her own.
Because we expected her to win, you know,
exactly.
not really
there
much
wouldn't have been
opposition.
if you're a winner, there wouldn't have been a shortage of people that wanted to be up there with you.
That's true. But her approval rating, that's something that needs to be worked on, because what we said, a third of voters felt like she's doing a decent job.
People like London Breed. About 6 out of 10 say they like her. And that goes a long way in politics, because sunshine sells. Right. But as aptly put, only a third feel that she's doing a very good job. Right. Now, a third feel that she's doing okay, and a third feel that she's doing a lousy job. And there could be the argument that that's pretty standard these days in America.
And a third are just whatever.
Whatever, you know. But it's a tough one because, as Dan pointed out earlier, you know, we have things like the Embarcadero homelessness, where people it's a very visible problem. We have the traffic. We have she was just talking about affordable housing. Still the issue. We've got a $600 million bond, but they're estimating the cost of each unit of affordable housing at $650,000. I mean, is that really going to work in a year? Is she going to be able to stand up and say, we've really accomplished something? Or is it going to be just a small, something you're pointing at that really doesn't make a difference?
Is it a very expensive drop in the bucket?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and politicians have a way of doing that. They cut ribbons on very expensive drops in the bucket and declare victory. And then we come around and knock it back a bit. But it was interesting. If her candidate holds out in District 5, that would be good for her as well. And so a mayor that's positive, but I could tell by her manner that she's waiting for the night to see how it goes, just like we are. Sure. She is going back there and taking a look and sort of saying, okay, what now? You know? And so, let's
talk about one of the other measures we're watching very closely, Proposition C. backed for a long time by Juul Labs, which they pulled out after the deaths of a number of people around the country from vaping. Optics look bad. Now it looks like, at least early returns here, that Proposition C is, they're going to continue the ban in San Francisco on vaping.
Absolutely. I mean, Juul had millions of dollars invested in this campaign.
This is a bellwether around the country.
It is.
That's why.
But it was going to be an uphill climb even before we had the health revelations coming out in the recent months, the questions about the safety of vaping. That just tubed it. It also has put the company on the rocks, too. They're having a tough time as well. And one of the first things they said was, okay, we're just going to stop this campaign. Don't be surprised if other cities don't pick it up, though, because San Francisco won. If it's 79%, that's overwhelming. Other cities will say, well, we'll do it. We're
going to ban
we're
vaping
going to ban vaping as well, or as limited as much as they can. I believe that's a wave. We had sugar, and now we have vaping, and we had cigarettes.
Yeah. Right.
We had that. So that is probably San Francisco's doing a bellwether there. And we'll see on that Lyft and Uber tax.
Yeah, because Lyft and Uber, they've agreed, this is Prop D, they agreed not to oppose it.
Actually, they agreed for the whole deal.
Yeah.
Because they were either going to face that or rounds of litigation, or the city was going to, just nickel and dime them to death with regulations. And the bottom line is, they need those cars to get around too. It's in their interest if we can improve the roads and get them to pick up more customers.
Right.
So they're saying, okay, we're not going to fight you. We're going to go with you just as long. Their only condition was, we want this money to go into street improvements. We don't want it being used for anything else. If you're taxing our customers, we've got to show something for it.
We got to see the roads improve.
And the second good part of it was that they said, we also want to be able to pass the tax on to our customers.
Right.
Yeah.
So Lyft and Juul aren't going to pay for it. We are, and we probably aren't even going to notice it.
Right. Okay, Phil, thanks very much. We will come back to you all evening, so thank you for being here. Phil, of course, is San Francisco Chronicle's insider with columns every Wednesday and Sunday in the San Francisco Chronicle, and of course now an ABC7 News contributor as well.
All right, so let's move on to some of the other results we've been seeing coming in tonight. In Contra Costa County, the city of Brentwood is voting on expanding the city's western border. Right now, no, 70%, 30% saying yes. A yes on Measure L would have approved the construction of 2,400 new homes in an initiative called Vineyards at Deer Creek Project by Blackhawk Nunn Partners developers. Traffic is a big problem for the area, but housing is also a big Bay Area dilemma.
And Phil, you've been watching this one as well, I know. That's an interesting race in Brentwood.
It is.
You know?
It is one of the first ones where we talk repeatedly about the need for more housing. And then when you go out to the communities and say, okay, are you ready to build it? And then they said, no, we like the way Brentwood is. We moved out here for open space and family home living, and we're not interested in seeing a whole lot more homes and a whole lot more traffic. So it's one thing when the politicians pass the bonds or pass the rules in Sacramento, but all politics is local, and when it gets down to your backyard or your front yard, you just saw it there. And that's the challenge of building a better Bay Area, because it's one thing to talk about it, but when you actually bring on the tractors, it says no.
When you boil it down to low gravy, it's hard to get
That's
done.
it.
All right, thanks, Phil. All right, in El Cerrito, residents are voting on Measure H. Let's take a look at that. We'll get to that. Measure H would extend an existing parcel tax to fund maintenance and enhancement of city parks and recreational facilities. Let's see if we can get to that one. Yes, 78% say yes. Again, early precincts reporting, but Measure H so far doing well.
All right, in Alameda County tonight, voters in Piedmont are voting on two measures related to Piedmont schools. Here's a look at Measure G, essentially a renewal of a current school parcel tax, 81% saying yes at this point.
And Measure H, the Piedmont Civic Association describes Measure H as a new additional school parcel tax, increasing the school parcel taxes property owners will pay. Measure H in the Piedmont, 73% yes on Measure H.
Moving to Marin County, starting with the Fairfax Town Council, 3 candidates are running for 2 open seats, and you can see 37% for Renee Goddard right now, 33% Cindy Swift, but not far behind Stephanie Hellman, 30% of the vote.
And in Novato, folks there are electing new council members. Jim Petre is facing Susan Wernick for the District 1 seat at this moment. Susan Wernick has 56% of the vote.
Kevin Morrison is challenging incumbent Eric Lucan for Nevada's District 3 seat, and Eric Lucan is ahead with 79% of the votes.
3 women are running for Nevada's District 5 seat: Melissa Galliani, Marie Hoke, and Amy Peel. At this moment, you can see Amy Peel, Marie Hoke, both doing fairly well, although Peel has 52% of the vote. Galliani trailing in the distance at 5%.
San Anselmo voters are casting ballots for 2 seats on the town council. 4 candidates are running for the 2 seats. Here how it is shaping up tonight. 34% is your top vote getter at this point, Steve Burdo. 31%, not far behind, is Ford Green. And then you have Kim Pipkin, 26%, but Tom King trailing 9%.
And staying in Marin, voters in Tiburon are casting ballots to renew a parcel tax for the Reed Union School District. If it passes, a $589 tax would remain in effect for 12 more years with a 3% increase per year. A 2/3 supermajority is required for it to pass, keep in mind, and it looks like it's getting there. Yes has 73% on measure, 73% of the vote on Measure E.
Fairfax voters are deciding whether to extend a property tax to help pay for police, fire, and other local services for 11 years. It requires a 2/3 majority for passage. 75% are voting yes for it, 25% no.
Marin County Measure M is a property tax that would pay to restore and maintain San Anselmo's Memorial Park. This one also needs a 2/3 majority to pass. No, 79% at this moment.
In San Mateo County, people in San Bruno are voting on 2 new city council members. They are choosing from a pool of 3 candidates, and those candidates are Irene O'Connell, Stephen Marshall, and Marty Medina. You can see right now 29% Linda Mason, 28% Marty Medina right behind, 22% Stephen Marshall, and Irene O'Connell at 21%.
All right, San Mateo County now. People in San Bruno are voting on 2 new city council members. This is Burlingame City Council: Emily Beach, Donna Colson, and Mike Dunham. 39% so far, with 26% of the precincts going to Emily Beach.
San Mateo County, they are voting on Measure E, taxes on cannabis businesses in Brisbane. 79% are saying yes to that. A yes on Measure E allows the city to impose a marijuana business tax of up to 6% of gross receipts, with actual rates set by the city council and determined by the type of business. The funds will go toward city services.
And we'll stay in Brisbane. They also voted on a uniform transient occupancy tax measure. 68% say yes on Measure B in Brisbane. 22% of the precincts reporting.
Measure C, staying in Brisbane, a liquid storage facilities business license tax measure. That's ahead, 68% of the vote.
In San Bruno, voters are deciding on Measure G, a so-called transactions and use tax measure. 62% of the vote now going to yes on Measure G in San Bruno.
There are also 2 school district measures up in San Mateo County. One is Measure I, a parcel tax for Cabrillo Unified School District. 74% voting yes, with 32% of precincts reporting.
Also in San Mateo, Measure H, a parcel tax measure for Redwood City School District. 65% saying yes on Measure H in Redwood City. 25% of the precincts now reporting.
Let's move to Sonoma County now. Let's take a look at Measure B. If approved, Measure B would extend the city's urban growth boundary by setting restrictions on land use for 20 years. And that yes, 91%, just 9% voting no at this point.
All right, Measure C would impose a new property tax for residents and businesses in the town of Occidental in Sonoma County. Homeowners would pay an additional $200 per year. Measure C does require a 2/3 vote to pass, and as you saw, it looks like it's going to get there.
Bodega Bay residents are voting on whether to continue a spending limit increase to help fund the fire department. Takes a simple majority to pass, 94% yes, so it is overwhelming, with 67% of precincts reporting.
Sonoma County Measure E is a property tax increase for Gold Ridge Fire Protection District. That's in Sebastopol. Homeowners would pay an additional $200 per year. A 2/3 majority vote is required to pass. Yes has 67%. Measure E in Sonoma County, about 58% of the vote now in.
Voters in Grayton are being asked to weigh in on Measure F. It's another property tax measure to help fund the Grayton Fire Protection District. Most homeowners would pay an additional $250 per year. Measure F does require a 2/3 vote to pass. Right now, it has 67% of the vote, 33% voting no, 71% of precincts reporting.
All right, that's a look at some of the other propositions and measures and candidates on the ballot around the Bay Area. Let's focus one more time on the San Francisco mayor's race. You just heard from incumbent Mayor London Breed. She's running against Ellen Zhao, Joel Ventresca, Paul Ibarro Robertson, Robert Jordan, and Wilma Pang. Breed succeeded Ed Lee following his death in December of 2017 in a special election. Now wrapping up Lee's 4-year term, so this is to be elected to a new term. She's running against candidates who certainly don't have the name recognition or funding, and that is showing clearly in the poll results, election results that we're getting in. At this moment, she has 60% of the vote. No one expected any other outcome other than that she would win tonight.
That's right. And we are keeping close eye on this, though. And we're also keeping a close eye on results for the San Francisco District Attorney's race. Breed appointed Loftus, you can see, who has 29% of the vote at this point. A lot of people were concerned that perhaps that appointment would give her an edge. Right now, she is leading 23% for Chesa Boudin. Tung has 23% and Douch has 17%. Not a lot of precincts reporting at this point, though, so it is close.
Let's turn back to Phil real quickly. Phil, anything that you're seeing tonight? You know, these off-year elections are always odd. Turnout is extremely low everywhere. It's, you know, normally it's, you know, even years. What are you making of what you're seeing here tonight?
Well, it's going to be interesting. Like in that last race, we have 4 candidates, and they were all running pretty much in 20 to 29. Susie Loftus, the mayor's pick, is up at 29. The others are at 20.
Yeah, here it is again.
23, 23, 22, 17. San Francisco has ranked choice voting. Rather than have runoffs like some other cities have, it's all done in one ballot. And so if we were voting, we'd get to pick one as our number 1 pick, our 2nd pick, our 3rd, and our 4th pick. And the interesting thing that's going to see as the night goes on is where, let's say, if it holds like this, where Douch's 17% of his 2nd
end up going.
Right.
Because if how they get distributed could be the determiner in the race. So this is going to be one of those where the ranked choice vote decides it. It's usually controversial.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like this system. Some do, but a lot of people don't.
A lot of people don't like it. It's one of those things that people just scream about it. But once you've done something like this, it's hard to back out of it. They're very difficult to predict. They drive people like me crazy, or they used to. And these days, I just give up.
Whatever.
Till election night, take a look at it. But it is one of those things where you get as many choices as you want. And then as the night goes, they eliminate those that didn't get enough first-place votes, and that's where the votes go. So if you added up all of those numbers and just on a purely superficial level, which is what usually we prognosticators do, is you would say if you took up all the ones that sort of thought the same way, and that would be Susie Loftus, Nancy Tung, and Leif Douch. Their supporters were on more the moderate to conservative spectrum. Then it would look like whoever wins their vote is going to be one of those 3.
Right.
They look like they're going to be the winner, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Right. But nothing's blowing you away in terms of, I never expected that to happen so far.
One thing that is not blowing me away, but I certainly find interesting is somebody must not like that park in San Anselmo, because every other bond measure for a specific thing was passing by really easy. But some of those dealing with fire protection in the North Bay were barely making the 2/3. So that's what blew me away. One, people are still willing to open up their wallets and pay taxes if they know what it's for. And the other one is, but even after a fire, some people are sitting back and going, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, right.
Go figure.
All right, that's a good point.
We appreciate all your insight, Phil. Great info.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that is all for now. We really appreciate your time here. I'm Dan Ashley.
And I'm Ahmed Dace. We are going to continue, of course, to monitor election results tonight. We're going to send alerts with any updates on our website and our free ABC7 News app.
And we'll have more results tonight on ABC7 News at 11 o'clock. As more votes get counted tonight, ABC7 Mornings begins tomorrow at 4:30 a.m. So we'll see you later here tonight. We'll stay with you. You stay with us.